Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Podcast Juice. My name is Michael Dean. Joining me today, as always, Mr. Ant Pooh. Sir, how are you?
I'm doing good, as best as I can be. Ready to chop it up on the most iconic musicians and artists of the 20th century today.
Okay. We're talking about Prince and Michael Jackson. I was gonna say something else. I was like, nah. Let's keep it. Let's stay on point. We got my juice here. You did. We're gonna take a little sip. Start things off.
Mark Q, if you're watching, he's the one coming with the foolishness.
Oh, always. Michael, aka Michael Foolishness Dean. So there we go.
Oh, hold on, real quick. I'm sorry, I don't want to get sidetracked, but so your name is Michael Anthony Kennedy. I just found out that
wait. My name is what?
Michael Anthony Dean. Sorry. Michael Anthony Dean. My bad. I just found out that here I am in my big old age of 48, just now finding out that my brother's middle name is Anthony as well. I don't know. Wow. I don't know what was so special in the 70s about Anthony, but there you go.
Right. I think I could see how black folks was like, oh, that's a sophisticated. That sound like some. I want my kid to be somebody. Oh, thank God we don't have our middle name isn't Latrell or something like that. Not to diss the Latrell.
He's like, oh, they definitely gonna bring him in for an interview. That sound like a good Christian white man.
Here we go. And I'm one starting the post.
Hey, you know how they think. All right. You know how they think.
Hey, that's all you. I'm just warming up. All right, man. Let's get into this. It's been 10 years. 10 years since the passing of Prince. A lot has been said, but I want to get our opinion. What do we think about this? I'm going to let you start, man. And, sort of the question is, what I want to start with is, where do you see, well, no, let me say this. What does Prince mean to you now in 2026?
That's a hard question to answer. I've had to sit on that for about a week. For me, I really feel like it's a loss. No, I'm sorry. What Prince means to me now. Prince means to me the last great artist that we just won't get. So diverse with his vocals, with his lyrics, with his music and production. They don't make them anymore. And that's not, and please, this new generation, the Zillennials, Gen Alpha, I'm not speaking down on you. It's the fact that the game, our society, doesn't give you that environment to learn this craft, to have that craft nurtured in the way that Prince and MJ and Stevie and the list goes on and on. And it's just, when I listen to the music, I hate to be that one, like, they don't make it like that anymore. Because sadly, they don't. And I just see another last part of me, and, in my own personal life, even though he was kind of messy, I see someone who had a talent, who had a craft, and put all of his effort into perfecting it. Even at the expense of what we heard, because none of us, I don't know how many of us really know him, but even at the expense of his relationships with his family, with his friends, with the women that he loved. And I just take a look at all of that, and I think to myself, what can I really learn from him? What can I really take from him and improve? The one thing I will say, and I don't want to go there, but we got to speak the truth. We got to tell it all. The fact that self-care, so important. I remember you put up this, and I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, but I remember you put up on Facebook, you wish he never started wearing those heels. And the thing of it is that we attribute his pain addiction to performing for 4 decades in those heels, doing those splits, dancing around, and all of us marveling and not realizing the damage and the physical toll it was doing to him. and what he ended up later in life having to do to cope with that pain. And so for me, I feel like do that self-care. Self-care can look like many different things. It could be mental self-care, it could be going to the spa, it could be going to the doctor and getting healed, it could be having that surgery, but taking that self-care so you can get back to your day-to-day grind. And I just wish that for whatever reason, which the man ain't here to tell us, he had taken that time, he had taken that year off from being Prince to be Skippy. That was his name, right? That was his nickname, right?
You talking about Skip?
Skip, yeah, to be, instead of being Prince and everything it took to be that person, to be that musical icon and everything, and just be that that person outside of it to make him whole, and not, if he had just taken a year. So that's where I feel where you know, I love the music. I love the inspiration that he got, but at the same time, I feel a little bit of sadness because he, and I believe he didn't take care of himself to the level that he needed to in order to still be here with us today. And again, that's speculation, but as they said in life, well, a lot of people saying it.
Okay. Okay. Man, there's a lot there. And I'm really taking in what you were saying. The self-care part is super important. Well, so what does Prince mean to me now? You know, I said that is a big question. It means a lot of things. I guess the thing I think about, the thing I think about the most, or I put the most intention into, is the music, because that's what kind of sort of got me into it. Um, so I still play the music. I still play it heavy. I'm playing songs and albums that I played as a teenager. I'm 56 now, so I'm still listening to some of the things that I listened to when I had a younger mind, right? And even as a grown man, I'm still playing some of those songs, but the way I listen to them may be a little different. I don't. Well, I have life experience, and I have hopefully matured a little bit. So some of the things that marveled me at 16 and 17 don't necessarily marvel me at 56, but um, it's when I start to look into, what was behind those songs and the albums and the music that I listened to. Like, who was the guy who actually created that? That stuff actually is very interesting to me because, and I don't know, kind of ramble here, but he was older than me, writing these songs, at least from me at my age. So it was an older person's uh, interpretation of different things that he wanted to express, and I was open to it, and I'm still open to it. Um, but I have grown up to find out that there's a difference between the music and the presentation that I fell in love with and the actual person behind that. And this is no different from anything. We can fall in love with things that we see on the internet or movies that we like or whatever, but we don't know the real get down of the person who created that. We only know that they are very talented at their art. They're very talented at the skill or whatever it is that they do, and I love that. Um, and this is not to say that I don't love Prince. I do. Like, the man, from what I know of it, what I've gotten to know of it, has made it even more real to me. He made the music even more impactful and interesting, and like, wow, he wrote that. Oh, this, okay, maybe he was trying to say this, but then you can say, and this is how he was living versus how he was writing. All of that stuff goes into making Prince fascinating, even more fascinating than when I was a kid. But I'm also, at the point where I'm like, uh, I think I'm ready to really understand the man behind all of this. You know, uh, What drove him to want to present himself in this manner? What drove him to make these decisions in this way? And what I mean by that, you made a point to say, I don't think that it can ever be another Prince or Michael in that. I would disagree only in the sense that I would say, I think the things that actually make Prince unique, super unique, and Michael was probably a lot of childhood trauma that I wouldn't necessarily want anyone to experience to have to be like that. They were both insanely talented and come from talented families, and they're coming from situations where you have to be the best at certain things, but obviously both coming from dealing with very volatile relationships with their fathers. And I think that for a son or a daughter, any kid, the relationships that they have with their parents is going to really affect what they end up doing in life, good or bad. And I just think that the relentless drive that Prince had to be the best doesn't just come from like he has a strong work ethic. You know what I mean? Like it's coming from a lot of things that have influenced him in his life. And I don't know if I would necessarily want other people to experience that if that's what it took to be on that level. There's Stevie Wonder, there's James Brown, Sly Stone, and then there's Prince. And you could argue that Prince could have reached higher than they did in some aspects of stardom, access to opportunities. These dudes are icons and legends, but they didn't have the same machine in place when they were doing their thing. Technology and stuff changed. So there wasn't no MTV and these types of things that put you on a global scale that Prince and Michael had. When you go back and look at Stevie and all those guys, they didn't have that. Very regionalized to certain areas. So, Prince is also coming from an era of the megastar, right? Of the introduction of the superstar and the penetration globally that sort of pressure and that sort of stardom brings. Obviously now it's a lot different. You can put something out and be on the world stage in a minute, right? So the table. So you're right. Things are changed, but I don't know if it's necessarily. I don't think it's because they're not talented. I would imagine there are probably people that are way more talented than Prince or Michael and a lot of these people, but there are a lot of other circumstances of why you're just not going to be able to hear their music, or then never get to the point to put that music out on a worldwide stage, right? Maybe those songs or talents are being stripped and used for some other lesser talented people that have a big machine behind them, right? That's the way the music business works. It's always worked like that. Oh, that song is great, but it'd be better if she sang it than you. Black artists went through that. That was the get down back in the day. So I don't think it's any different today.
Shoot, it was the get down 10, 15 years ago.
That's what I'm saying. It's still that way. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know if it's necessarily that the talent is the issue. I mean, you can go to a club in some city and there'd be some mad talented musicians and singers that would blow people out of the game, but for whatever reason, they're not going to be put in that position. It's not built on talent. I guess that's the end of the day. You could be the most talented in the world, but if you don't have a certain look, can you sell it?
If you don't have a certain connection.
So is to say, but again, I guess my point was to say the things that make Prince great, part of what makes him great, I think carried some sort of baggage with it. So in terms of what I think about Prince today, I love the music. The music ain't changed. Those albums were already released, so I got them. So I love them then. I love them now. I would like to see more stuff, obviously, but I'm I'm almost to the point where it doesn't even bother me no more. That it's not going the way I want it to go. Because there's so many different circumstances, which we'll get into. So, I mean, in terms of what he means to me today, he means the world, but it also, I'm at a place where I'm comfortable liking what I have. he did enough. Would I like to see other stuff? Yes, but I would actually like the answers to other questions more. So that's what it means. Like, he died of a accidental overdose of fentanyl using, some pills he didn't know had fentanyl. I would like to know that. The music is cool, but I don't know if at least for me, I don't know if the answers are really being addressed properly, and I don't know what that says about the way we treat people that we supposedly love, that we can seem to gloss over that because it doesn't make us feel comfortable to talk about it, or I'd rather just go to celebration. I don't have time to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if that gets a little exploitive or something. Like, on one hand, when they ask, what's the questions you would want to see talked about at the panel? How about that one? Like, why are we here, man? You know what I'm saying? And I know that must make people uncomfortable, but you're supposed to be like, then does that mean we don't deal with or ask the hard questions? So, again, that's what I think about stuff I be thinking. But go ahead.
No, you touch on a lot. Part of me, when it comes to his death, I don't know. I feel like I don't need to know. I don't care, because my thing is he's gone. Unless you could tell, unless there's some proof or it's going to lead to somebody killed him, somebody set him up.
Right.
I don't know if I need to know more about what led to him.
Can I ask you? I just ask you. We partners, so this is all. Why would you say that? I'm just curious. Why is it enough? I guess if it was something more personal to you, would you have that same mindset?
No. If I'm to understand what you're speaking on, you want to know what led to him. I'm assuming you want to know the pills that he was taking, how long that's been going on. I guess you want to know his condition.
Well, I would just like to know how, they say he died of an overdose of fentanyl. Where did it come from? Like, you don't just get that. I live in Seattle, Washington. Fentanyl is ravaging the streets of this city. It's terrible, right? It's people dying every day. You don't buy that at the store. Like, I just can't see Prince on this. I don't want to think that Prince is on the street, and he's not. But again, so where did it come from? Like, is he responsible for it? Maybe he is, but they just never really answered that question. Like, if my man's died, or something happened to me, right? And they said, "Oh, my Mike went down," would you be like, "Well, if it ain't gonna bring nobody I don't need to know what happened to Mike. I just gonna listen to the podcast." When's it? Is it unreleased?
Why you gotta put it like that? Why you gotta put it like that?
Well, because that's what we're putting it like. If we say we love and Prince, like, I'm just curious, why do we say these things?
Because to me, maybe it's a defeatist attitude where I don't feel anything's going to change. We're not going to get, what full closure are we going to get other than to open a wound of learning about his drug abuse? Not saying that that's not important. And I even said at an earlier time that it would have been great when people were talking about that he was going to go in rehab. Part of me was like, that would have been so great. Not just because he would have hopefully got the help that he wanted, but to put it out there for the world to see that even someone that we admire, that we aspire to be talented as, he succumbs to weakness, to addiction. And look at the steps he's taken to get himself better. But I think after 10 years, it's kind of like, I feel the same way about the Kennedy assassination at this point. I don't care. Unless you go tell me it was part of the larger conspiracy to keep Black people down, which it might have been. I don't know. I just feel like it's not really going to bring any closure, or any greater knowledge about, him getting a hold of these drugs. I chalk it up to the man was rich. The man was famous. I'm sure he could get whatever he want whenever he want.
Right. No, I feel you. Like I said, and I'm not saying, let's be clear, we're not saying anybody was a drug addict or anything. So when you get in the comments and your feelings, that's not what we're saying. I'm just asking the question, why do we say that we don't, we do have closure on it? It's just a weird thing, because and I'm talking to people sometimes, they know I like Prince. That always kind of comes up like, man, how did he? And it's like I don't have a clear answer to that. Well, they said that's what. Well, they said he did. This is what happened, and there ain't no case, and that's it. The next album's coming out, whoopty whoop. That's where the conversation always shifts to, or where the release is. But I'm just saying, like, we're talking about somebody that we love. But I guess, and this is a celebrity too, right? And this is the thing I want my young folks to really just watch, now passing no judgment. But again, just watch how your older folks, I'm an older folk, I'm an elder. Watch how we get down in these types of situations so that you can really see the game for what it really is. You can understand how there's associates in life. There's people that you really love in life, and things are dealt accordingly. So you understand, like, you could be at your job, right? And they love you over there. You putting in a lot of work, but let something happen to you, business will continue and they'll keep it moving, and this is what we're doing. We're going to keep it moving because, as we said, it ain't going to change nothing. So that's what happened, but it's just, we have these conversations because there's still the questions. Prince was a very private man. He kept his personal life here. Show business was what we saw. And, there's definitely an attempt to keep that sort of private thing going on for him. That is done by the people who love him. And that's, I have nothing wrong with that.
Something you said kind of triggered me as far as today's generation of artists and celebrities versus Prince and MJ, who we'll get into later. You said he was a private man, and I look at that and I'm like, that was deliberate, because he felt the less you knew about him, the more you wanted to know, the more curiosity, the more he stayed on your mind. Versus today, and I understand the game, but versus today, where they put everything on blast because they feel if we're not in your IG feed, your Facebook feed, your X feed, you done forgot about us by the time you're ready to come up with something for you to buy, which is interesting, especially when we look at how MJ operated or how we perceived him to be and how they mentioned in the film about, no, I want to take some time. I wanted to breathe, but not in today's world.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't make well. The thing is, there are people that do that.
Beyonce and Jay-Z come to mind. Well, more so, but let me take that back. More so, Beyonce.
Yeah, Jay-Z does interviews, but you don't see Beyonce doing. You actually don't. I was going to say Bruno Mars. You actually don't see him doing no interviews anymore either. It seems like he's just putting the music out. There's a few that are able to do that.
Well, the reason why I say is not so much Jay-Z, because Jay-Z isn't really putting out music and performing and touring like that. That's why I was thinking the ones that are like Beyonce.
Only when he has to, right? He's got those two shows about to drop, and he just did an interview, right? And he got an album about to drop. So again, he's not. He does interviews. He doesn't operate like Michael and Prince and them used to do. But it's a different time. I don't think you could really do that. You'd have to be the outlier to do that. There's only a couple that can get away with that.
Or you'd have to be a made person like a Prince and a Michael. Like, I don't know. Well, Beyonce, I guess, would be one. She's made. But I'm like, from that generation, or at least in the early 2000s, where you were that big enough name that you could take the time off, come back with something, come back with the full marketing PR push. But it's just amazing.
Dominate the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the thing. I'm talking about when you put something out and everybody go buy it. The one thing that you just set out the game and you put something out and you don't really sell. But we're talking about the ones who actually drive the game. Like, whether you like their music or not, I'm just saying, like, when Beyonce dropped, everything stopped.
Like, I think
it's the conversation.
Two other people who are someone, I wouldn't say Taylor Swift to an extent, but she kind of is 24/7. You see me, but I think she has the capability, and definitely Adele. Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
So you don't hear nothing until the new album comes out.
Right. Yeah. So in regards to Prince, yes, 10 years later. I also wanted to ask you this. There's been a lot of conversation about the estate, way things have been handled. There was a article, it was a Vibe article that actually had me in that. And they were talking about the estate and things of that nature. What's your thoughts on the estate and how things have been handled?
I'm about to get my purple card revoked. I know it, but I'm going to say it.
Speak your truth.
I'm going to speak it. This is clearly the difference between Michael Jackson and Prince. Michael Jackson had his shit in order. He had his estate set up. He had his wishes, for the most part, because there's some people saying that he didn't want the ATV catalog sold and the estate are doing certain things, but had it on point. They pretty much have ran it as a ongoing corporation to feed those kids and those kids and whatever they want for generations. And it's just been on point. Whereas when you look at the Prince estate, no will. People are saying that there was one. No, the estate is in disarray as you have all these different, oh my God, I don't know what you call them, beneficiaries who, as you mentioned a few years ago, like these beneficiaries, the people who own the claim to it, they're like in their 60s and 70s. They don't know nothing about running a musical estate of a Prince. So they're getting pulled 11 different directions for people saying, "Oh, I got you, and all those people are out for themselves." I say all that to say it's in disarray. It's in disarray to make, in my opinion, yes. Especially unfair as it may be, especially when I see the Jackson estate. They know exactly what they're going to put out. Got this movie, it's about to be number one, probably do a couple $100 more million. And you look at the Prince estate, and I look at it in the sense of they were going to do a documentary, but they didn't like what was being said. Get it, but at the same point, you can make money off that if that's your ultimate goal. You have all of these songs in the vault that you tout, but you're really getting it out there. You had the celebration, which I respected as a sense of the fans to be able to come to Minneapolis to celebrate the life of Prince, to be a part of the Purple Army with one another, and celebrate him with these people that have this affinity for him. But now we're going to year 9, I think it is, of this, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, why are we doing it? What are we coming for? What is, so that's what I just feel like there isn't a real cohesive plan of how to nurture this estate, how to grow his impact, his influence year over year and into the next generation, so that there is a rollout plan for what's in the vault. There is a plan to, did they do something in 2024 for Purple Rain?
Like the celebration?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, like, have those milestones that people can point to and say there are key albums, 1999, Purple Rain, to Some Dirty Mind, Sign of the Times. What are the plans to celebrate that, to get the fandom hyped for those? Was it 40 years, Sign of the Times next year? Seminal masterpiece that everybody agree with? What is the plan for that? So I just feel like I hate to say I could do a better job because everybody say they can until you in that position.
Let me see how you manage your checkbook.
Oh no! I didn't even talk about the finances. Like, that's what I say. Everybody say they can till you in it. I'm talking about as far as the planning, the activities. But I just feel like it's lacking. It really is lacking. Mm-hmm. And again, it could just be. What
is it that you want to see? So you want to see more anniversary type? That's what you're kind of.
I want to see more events, more anniversary, more activities taking place at Paisley Park. I would say turn it into a school if that's possible. Again, like you say, you have
a school.
Well, like, can think about Sheila E. teaching drumming at Paisley Park, where people would come either either as prodigy that pays or got a scholarship to come there, or coming to learn bass from Brown Mark or Levi or any of those great basses at Paisley Park, or I remember somebody, I can't remember who it was. It was Beck. I think it was.
Who?
Wasn't it Beck who recorded some songs there? I'm like, open the studio up, because that, I feel like they're like Sunset's Sound is, I think that's the ones, right? There's some iconic studios that say, hey, go there and go into Paisley where Prince recorded his album and make a masterpiece.
They got that now.
I mean, no, I'm talking about go and record there, like getting Jay-Z.
People are not gonna. I mean, I think you probably could record there if you wanted to. I mean, I was a very costly situation.
But I mean, putting it out there, to be like, to have the, like, the artists, like, just like people want to go play at MSG, make it like people want to go record at Paisley Park, even if it's just one song or two, just to be able to have that notch in your belt.
You think that would be sustainable?
I don't know. That's why you don't put me in charge.
I mean, and I'm not just speaking on that. I mean, I think that's a thing that I think we have to ask ourselves as fans, like, oh, can you put this out? And, we say all these things, and that's why we brought the finances earlier, but we have no idea what it costs to produce these things. And we don't know how the last stuff they've been putting out sold. Did they make money? Did they lose money, or did they just break even? We have no idea. What was the profitability on any of this stuff, right? We have no idea. How do we judge that to be able to come up with some logical things that, instead of just saying, how I want them to put this out, well, if putting this out costs $100,000 to get it ready and it barely breaks even, is that a smart business thing to do? So I don't know if it's hard to make these claims when we have a very small piece of the reality. Like, if I'm a fan of Star Wars, why can't they just put out that? Well, Mike, it's going to cost $100 million to make that, and then another something to market that. It just don't make no business sense. Like, I know that's what, so I wonder if that's sometimes what's going on here when we talk about the estate, because if it was up to me, yeah, I'm like, I want to go, can you put out Small Club and whoop-de-whoop? But I say at the same time, I don't know how that would sell. I don't know what it would cost to market that. I haven't done that. I don't even know how much it would cost to sweeten that up in today's standards sonically. Like, I don't know the rates of any of this shit, but I can tell you what I want. So we have to understand that, we are speaking from a place that we don't have all the information, man. We certainly don't have the finances. We barely know what's in the vote ourselves. But does that mean it's less frustrating? When we don't.
Absolutely, yeah.
We're not getting any sort of information. It's still frustrating from a consumer's point of view. It would be nice to get some sort of concrete understanding of, well, what are you planning to do? Or, you know what I mean? I think that's one thing that could help. But I would imagine it's a tough situation. Look, I'm not a fan of the way things are going right now either. But at the same point, I know about as much as you. When I'm, you, the listener, whoever, like I ain't never been behind the scenes to look and see what they got going on. And I don't know how many copies of Sign of the Times box set sold. I have no idea. Here's the reality. I didn't even buy it. It was a gift. So, there's that. I'm still streaming the music. At the same point too. So I don't, that's the thing. And I don't know where any of that stuff stands. I know what I want. Right? We definitely know what we want. Like, I want that parade to be maxed out. I want that parade deluxe to be incredible. Like, it better be. That's how, me as a fan and consumer, I'm on the it better be, on the same quality as the Sign of the Times, the same quality as that 1999 box set. It has to be that. But I say that at the same point, I don't know if those are successful or not. I just know I love them. So that's a tough thing we're in dealing with. But they definitely need to do something because it is very frustrating, as fans, to just seem to be. I don't know. Even this, what's the last song they just came out with this tear? Did you hear that one?
Yeah,
Beyond.
you got. I have not yet. I have not checked it out
See?
yet.
And see, that's the thing. Like I've heard it before, but I didn't rush out to stream this new one. You can't buy it, so it's like, yeah, that's cool, but it's just like it was just kind of thrown out there. Uh, but what is it about? It's cool. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like it'd have been back in the day when Prince put out shoot, one of them songs. I was just kind of like, huh? Like, how come you ain't playing this? It's the same type of thing. Like, yeah, that song is cool, but man, I know you sitting on heat. When's the heat gonna start? That's what I'm like. The thing that we think about Prince, we're not thinking about Celine Dion covers, and that we thinking about that funk, man. We thinking about Prince going hard. That's what we want to see. At the end, at least for me, I'm speaking for me. That's what I want to see. I want to see the excitement, man. Where's the excitement? You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, man. Let me see here. Well, let me ask you this: in terms of celebration, I already know the answer. Are you going to the celebration this year?
The way my bank account is set up, I can't make it this year.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm not mad at the celebration though. I think it's dope that they have these, but it's just personally, yeah, it's just a little out of my range. But I love the fact that they be selling out though. So that tells you that there are fans that's ready and willing and and can do it. And I salute that. You know what I'm saying? They should definitely service the fan base that can appreciate that. I'm not mad at that at all. I just think that they need to do. I would just say consider opening it out a little bit more to a wider audience, and maybe the day tickets kind of help with that. I assume, but it's just a lot to not only pay to attend the situation, but people are flying from out of town, so they got to do the plane tickets and the hotels and the food. So that's a big commitment.
Yeah.
For a music festival. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sure what the other music festivals out there cost. I don't know if they start at 900. Maybe they do.
But because I was just about to say, I'm like, when you look at Coachella, but again, at least, well, I'm not gonna say at least, but with Coachella, you're getting 5,100 artists. So,
yeah, I mean, but but to me, that's how I look at it. I mean, it's just because of the amount of money and commitment you got to. I mean, that's a whole vacation. That's a whole. It's a week-long event, man. It's not just some little. It's not Comic-Con. Comic-Con is what, maybe $100 at best, and you go for the day or something like that.
No, I think those tickets are a couple hundred.
Well, depending. Like I went to Comic-Con here, it was $70.
I thought you were talking about San Diego Comic-Con. Yeah.
No. I'm just the Comic-Cons they have around the country. But I can imagine going to those the whole week. But again, go ahead.
I was about to say, anybody that's going to New York Comic-Con, salute to you, because I know that's got to be expensive.
Yeah, but again, they sell out. There are people that go to these events, so it's not that they shouldn't have them. I think they should. What are some other things that we wanted to get into in terms of the 10 years? Any? I mean, we've sort of talked about it, but any releases that have to be a must for you? Let's say within the next 10 years. What are some things that would have to put out?
There's a couple. Well, I don't know. I don't know if I want to say have to or must, but I'm just gonna say what I want them to have put out. But one, I want the director's cut of Purple Rain. We know that there is more footage than what was in the final cut. I want someone, I don't know, Antoine Fuqua, because he did Straight Outta Compton. No, I'm sorry. F. Gary Gray, Antoine Fuqua, anyone that's recently done a musical biopic, preferably a brother or sister.
Well, they announced Robin, or Coogler is doing some sort of Prince jukebox movie.
That's interesting. So yeah, I just wanted them to get a hold of all that footage and put out the director's cut or producer's cut, however they want to label it, so we get all of the footage. I want to see Prince ticking one on Jelly Bean. I want to see the infamous barnyard sex scene and anything else. I want to see what dialogue they gave Brian Mark, because he said he had some lines. I want to see that. The next, a must for me, I want to see Originals Part 2. I feel like there in the vault, there is a Prince vocals of 777-9311, of Get It Up, of The Walk. I think that would probably be phenomenal. I know he's pretty much all over this song, but I want to see the lead vocals of Prince on Love Bizarre. Maybe there is a version of him singing Sugar Walls. It definitely would be a different, it'll hit kind of different. Yeah. And the other tracks that out there that he gave to other people and whatnot. And then lastly, of course, I want to see the parade. I want to see the parade, the box deluxe set. I feel like I think you might have talked about it on the old Freedom Train reviews, where you said, like, with Parade, that these songs are too short. You felt like he edited them down to fit the entire track list. So especially when you see the concerts where he lets Christopher Tracy's Parade ride out, I Wonder You ride out, New Position ride out. I would love to see if there's the extended version of all of those songs. I pray. And people are like, that one? Yes, that one. I pray there's a longer version of Venus de Milo, because that's such a beautiful musical composition. So pray that that's out there as well. Those are my three.
With you on that. Okay.
And then, of course, maybe there's a version of Mia Boca that he'll put up on there. Some of the other songs that he had in the movie that he used as background music, full on songs, and hope, maybe there's actually a track list where he had all those songs. Because as much as I say Parade is his perfect album as far as tracking from beginning to end, maybe there's even a better, more deluxe, expanded edition of it in the vault.
Okay. Yeah, man. I'm with you on all of those. I'm not mad at any of that. I would add, I guess, Dream thing.
Dream Factory?
People have said this. Possibly. I was going to say, people have mentioned sort of a music club type of thing again. I would love to see, however they do this, where they can periodically release live concerts. And I'm talking about audio. I don't care what it is. It could be some service that y'all could do the Paisley Park Patreon page. I would not be mad at that. Keep it simple. And, you charge whatever you want to charge. There's a fan that's willing to pay. You want to charge $50 to $100 a month, and you get, 2 or 3 live shows a month. You could download off of that. I would consider that. That would be great. I think there's an opportunity to take a deeper look into Prince live. If one thing we know, he recorded damn near all of them concerts over the years, and that's a treasure trove. You don't have to do too much to that to make it sound great, and it's not something that needs to be for sale, pressed up and all that. I understand that may be a little much, but in today's world, instant access, if we could get concerts on a regular basis, I would be down for that. I would want, and I know they're doing this, I want all the albums, but I definitely can start from the top. I want them all in Atmos, man. Release them all on Adobe Atmos. To me, again, it just gives a deeper listen and evaluation of the actual music, to hear the songs in totality. You can hear the intricacies of the different instruments and some of the parts we just couldn't hear before. And who would benefit from that the best? Great, Prince, because he's a master musician. So to me, that would be a must to do. Again, I don't know how they would sell, but I think it's time to look into the Madhouse and Paisley Park label releases that they had. Those should be out, whether they're record store day releases or whatever, limited. They could be limited releases that may just sell out quick, but at least they can say, "Hey, we put the family out. We put the Jill Jones one out. We put, so it is available and it's on streaming, so everyone can listen to it." I think that type of stuff should just be no brainers. I don't know if there's legalities between Warner Brothers. It's not my job to know nor figure out. I'm a fan. I don't need to know how the cars work that I buy. It just need to be working when I buy it. So same with this. And aside from that, like you said, his movies released on the highest quality levels. We got the Purple Rain 4K, which was fantastic, immaculate. That movie looks amazing. I would love to see the other movies get that treatment. Sign of the Times is out on 4K and it looks amazing. So I would love all his cinematic work, get that. I mean, and from there, yeah, you can do the originals, you can do what all these other little, and I'm sure, I would imagine they're going to come out with a lot of compilation type projects. The greatest hits packages on artists are a thing, and I could see them doing one for Prince, and I wouldn't be mad at it. That's what the originals is essentially. It's the greatest hits package compilation. I wouldn't mind seeing those. The greatest live songs or the greatest. Not mad at that. I think those help his music be introduced to more people. And the last thing I would say is, I do want a movie. It doesn't have to be a traditional biopic. It could even be a movie of compilation footage of Prince. I think that would be fantastic. Like, they pulled footage that we haven't seen before and did it in some sort of compilation movie. There was some sort of narrative. Maybe it was just to follow his album releases or something. And they took performances from each era. And maybe there was some behind the scenes things or something that they could show, mixed with some interviews and footage we haven't seen. Let him speak for himself. And you don't have to include, anything you don't want to include, right? I get that too. But it would just be great to see it on the big screen, hear the music blasting, and let the fans have a good ass time. I wouldn't be mad at that. Go ahead.
I know if Q was here, he'd have my head for this. I know there is something to him being a Black icon, having a film that we go into the theaters, that's the #1 box office. I get that. I understand the significance of that, and he's definitely worthy of that. However, if I want to see a dramatization of his life, I want it to be a multi-episode series, because I feel it would give it enough time to get into the depth, to give,
Sure.
Because for me,
I think that's what that documentary was going to do, right? 9 episodes.
Yeah, like drama. I think the first 2 episodes should be him through high school, just finding out his home life, him meeting Morris, him finding his music, us really learning and understanding what shaped him listening to James Brown, to Sly, and all of them, being inspired about him starting to hate MJ, because like, I'm better than that little nigga over there. Who is so special about him?
I don't know if he ever hated him, making up shit, but okay.
But I'm sure, again, dramatization, of course, But yeah, I would prefer it was a series, so that we can really have the time to get into the weight and the breadth of his life. And unfortunately, all of that is Prince, and almost nearly 60 years. Sadly, I don't know if anybody is capable of putting together a film like that. Maybe you could do it a multi-part.
Why would you say that? I'm just curious.
60 years of life, of music, of behind the scenes stuff in a 2.5 hour film. I don't think it's possible. At least to what I would want to see. His childhood, him getting his record deal, him becoming this superstar with Purple Rain, him dealing with the stardom. You have to talk about not being in We Are the World and somewhat being a backlash, industry backlash to him. Him said, essentially, well, we believe him saying, fuck Purple Rain, I'm on to this new stuff, and like understanding why he was doing things like that. Him becoming out of the spotlight in the 90s, which people attribute to his beef with Warner Brothers. Going into that, right. His marriage, his the loss of his child, if you want to. I don't think you can put all that in 2.5-hour film, that you'd want to see all of the elements, all of the things that he went through, the triumph and the tragedy.
I don't know if they want to do that. Unfortunately, they tried to do that. We didn't see that, right?
Yeah. So, but I'd want a series. I'd want a series. And I know Q was like, no, he deserves it. I'm like, look, my brother, Netflix or Amazon Prime, they would absolutely have it as huge as a box office release. They would. They absolutely would. Yeah. If you don't believe me, I bet the people you're watching right now, I know y'all saw them damn Melania documentary ads. So yes, Amazon would. Melania Trump. What? Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't see ads, so nothing against her. Or
well, if you had a Fire Stick, you absolutely saw it.
Fire? They're still doing Fire Stick?
Wow, I feel old now. Yes.
Oh man, see, you got to have a Fire Stick. Oh, Lord.
I
thought the apps was built into the TV.
No, I don't trust them because no. The reason why I don't trust them is because like Samsung, they stopped updating certain apps, like the WWE app. They stopped updating it. Some of them they were taken off. So I'd rather have a third party device where I don't have to worry about the television being up to date with the iOS and all that stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, man. Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at it. Yeah, TV series, of course, give it to me. Who wouldn't want that? I'd be curious if they would go forward with something like that, though. And you know, I guess this will lead us into our MJ conversation of the movie. And what I was going to say was, you know, I don't know if the estate would be in the business of putting like anything that could be seen as a flaw in front of their product. Because that's what it is. You know, they have their job is to make money with this and to make sure that it's a profitable situation and to safeguard this thing. It is not to satisfy. For me personally, it's not for them to satisfy what I would want to know about Prince. They want to create opportunities where I can buy something, right? That's their job. And I think so. You look at this Michael movie. And I think a lot of the backlash is because of certain things they don't show or go into, or the tone of it, they're making him look like a saint and things of that nature, you know. And I don't disagree, but again, I guess I would imagine their point of view is, look, we're putting out a movie.
This is a business.
And they want to make that movie run up the numbers. You know, by any means necessary. It is not to satisfy, you know, and to help you contemplate, you know, your fandom of Michael Jackson in terms of coming to grips with some shit that happened. They want you to have a good ass time and to celebrate Michael and run them numbers up. And that's the kind of movie that is.
Like they say, don't mess up the brand.
Yeah, with that said, I want to give my review. A review of this.
I'm sorry. Before we do,
real quick,
I was wondering if we can, you know, give our top 3 releases.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
For me,
are we talking about like after his death?
Yeah, the stuff that they released after his death. I got 2 honorable mentions because they weren't actually from the estate, but because of his death, we got them. Maite's book and Morris Day's book. Phenomenal, great reads. If you haven't, do yourself a favor and read them. But for me, the 3 best releases were the originals. I keep finding myself going back and listening to those songs and like, bruh, how you didn't put those out on your own? Especially Noon Rendezvous. That is honestly Respect to Sheila E., and it's not because of the vocals, but it's the way that demo version, I guess you want to say, or that version is mixed or put together. It's just so much better than what was released, in my opinion. Then the other one is Welcome to America, or as we say, this the Black Album Part 2. In other words, I can't put this out. I can't put this out.
He's the Blacker album.
I gotta make some money after this. I can't do that.
Wow.
And then it was really hard for me, but pause. Because was it Purple Rain, Sign of the Times, or 1999? And I had to go with Sign of the Times because it gave me all my dreams. And one of the reasons why is because when I play that, my daughter in the car, my daughter lights up and she gets to sing it along with it. So got to go with that.
Nice. And that was, you say it was originals?
Welcome to America and Sign of the Times Deluxe.
Got it. Okay. I would say Sign of the Times Deluxe for sure. Purple Rain, Atmos. That was a shocker to me, actually, listening to that. Man, there's been a lot of releases, actually. I'm trying to think, what do I still play, though? What do I play heavy? You know what? It's going to be 1999.
I can see that.
Bold Generation. That's still my jam. The first time I heard that, and till this day, I still blast that heavy. So that's my three right there. And then, and aside from that, I would say that's for the audio. The video stuff that they've put out has been phenomenal to me. The Sign of the Times. This is on the Sign of the Times, but that Sign of the Times concert with Miles Davis on Blu-ray. Fantastic. The Diamonds and Pearls live at Glam Slam. Fantastic. Like that. Actually, I would put that in the top 3. That's in the top 3. I'd never seen that before. And the fact that they were sitting on something like that for all this time, that's been professionally shot, dope. Performance was ridiculously crazy. And he never put that out. That's funny to me. But yeah, that was amazing. And then even the one that was on Welcome to America, that was badass too. Yeah. So yeah, the video concerts they've put out have been exceptional. I tip my hat to them. I hope they continue that. All right. Any other things for Prince we got here before we move on?
May you live to see the dawn.
There you go. All right. So Michael, or as Joseph was saying in the movie, Michael. So let me say this, man. I've seen the movie twice. And I wanted to see it twice because the first time I saw it, I had started hearing the reviews. And of course, I just had in my mind what I wanted this thing to be. And I just was so unsure. And I was like, am I going to believe this? It's Michael. And I'm a big Michael Jackson fan. I was into Michael Jackson heavy before I was into Prince. To the point where I was dressing up like Michael as a kid. The Jerry Juice, the jacket, the penny loafers, all that, on a day-to-day basis. So I'm super into it. So the first time I saw the movie, it was just kind of one of those things where it was so much coming at me and I'm trying to follow along and also why is, stay with this. How come they're not showing this? And, I'm just trying to get an understanding of it. There's so much coming at you versus all of my expectations. So the first time I saw it, I walked out of there. It was like, when I took my younger daughter the first time, and I was like, man, that was cool. Like, there's a lot I have to sort of process, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, man, there's some issues with it. I didn't really like the jumping around and things of that nature, but Jafar was Michael Jackson. It was like the days after. So I saw it on a Wednesday, and I knew I was going to go see it again Saturday. But I started thinking, I was like, God, but Jafar, man. I remember the scene where he was just talking with his mom, And that shit was like kind of made me kind of sad a little bit, but I was like, that was Mike. And then just seeing him smile, and he just had the mannerisms now, or at least what I think to be the mannerisms of Michael Jackson, right? He had the look, the tonality of his voice, just the eyes. A lot of Michael Jackson to me is his eyes for some reason. And he just had all of that, man. I was just like thinking about like, God, I want to see that again because it just made me think of Michael. So I saw it the second time. And the second time I took my mom, my sister, my older daughter, and went to the IMAX. And seeing it a second time, and I sat next to my mom, and my mom was really the one that got me into Michael Jackson as a kid because she had bought Destiny and Off the Wall, and she would play them in the car all the time, an 8-track. That's how old back in the day. Every Friday we would go to Chinese food and she would play the Off the Wall album. And I, as a kid, I just knew it word for word because that was all she was playing. So I would just sing along to it. So I really started to get into Michael. But I remember I was like, God, my mom got me into this shit. And she is so far away from music at this point of her life. She act like she don't know nothing, right? Like when we walked out, I'm jumping all over the place. When we walked out of the theater, one of the things she was like, first, as we walked out of the theater, she demanded that I take her phone and find the soundtrack to the movie and download it into her iPhone so that she could play the songs, right? And she was like, and make sure you find that one, that Mary Jane song he does. What Mary song? Yeah, the Mary Jane about the smoking. I was like, Mom, stop it. That's Rick James. I was like, what are you doing? And the funny part is she was a heavy, let me say, my mom is Bible study 2 or 3 days a week, teaching Bible study, going to church 3 times a week, saved, sanctified. But I remember my mom when she was heavy Rick James. As a child, I just remember seeing all this Rick James imagery in my house. I didn't know what that was. Now I know what it was, right? And I didn't have no dad there. So she was into that shit. So for her to act like now that she don't know nothing about all of that, it was funny to me. I say all that to say, seeing the movie with my mom and being a dad myself now, the second time I saw the movie, I could just relax and just watch it for what it was and not what I wanted it to be and what I expected it to be. I love this movie, man. This movie got me in my heart. I was so fucked up watching it the second time. The shit with Joe, because I could see a little. I got a little Joe in me, not the toxic part of Joe, but just that. I was like, man, okay, is this how our kids see us? This is kind of how I got. I was like, because to me, there was like a kid's point of view parts of this movie. I was like, this is how the kids see the parents, and even the parts with the mom. The part where Michael, after he got his hair burnt and he's in the bed, man, I was fighting back not to cry watching that. I just felt so disappointed as a parent. I'm like, man, we're supposed to protect these kids, man. And this dude is a grown man at this point, but there's obviously a lot of development that did not happen for him. And so he still reacts as a child, in these sad situations. And that shit just kind of shook me a little bit. I was like, this is a surface level movie. It's a celebration of Michael, this and that and the third. But you can see the creaking, you can see the deeper movie. This is my belief. You can see the deeper and maybe somewhat darker movie that they may have shot sort of creeps through a little bit in the way that this was edited. Because I think there was probably a little more going on in some of these scenes. And for whatever reasons, and I can understand why it wouldn't be a feel-good movie of the year if they probably went all the way with what was going on. But even just the little inklings of what they showed, I was like, there's parts of this movie that really made me sad. And then there are parts of this movie that inspire me, that make me feel so good. I think the draw for me of this movie is that it reminds me of the Michael Jackson that I fell in love with as a kid. And it seemed like a guy who was always sort of joyful and was just coming from a positive place, no matter what the situation was. And just looking at him being himself, I'm not talking about the performances, but just when he was just out and about, or he's just walking down the street with his llama. And I'm like, this dude is special. Like, I don't know, man. It was just something about the movie and about Michael in the movie that really touched my heart, man. And I actually, like I said, I love this movie. It's not a perfect movie, but it perfectly, for me as a fan, made me love Michael Jackson even more. Like, it just reminded me, like, yeah, this dude, there's nothing like this, man. This dude actually, at least it seems like he really cares about stuff. Like, he cared about people. He seemed like a kid to me. Uh, I felt bad that I was like, man, he didn't get the full development that I think children need to get. You know, I wouldn't want my kids to be in that position. I don't care how successful they were. I don't think it was worth it. But I can see how it takes a cost on somebody. It took a cost on all of them. The whole family got their situations, as we all do. But yeah, man, we can go deeper. But I absolutely love this movie. I can't wait to see it again. Jafar Jackson is remarkable. There's nothing else. I mean, we come across these performances that are goated. It's rare, but to me, his performance, I can't say nothing bad about what he did. Nothing. There are a few little times where he didn't look exactly like Michael. Yeah, because he's not Michael. But for the majority of the movie, I had to convince myself that that wasn't Michael, but he played it so well that it seemed that he was. My mom throughout the movie kept asking me, is that the real one now? I'm like, no, Mom, that's his nephew. And she was just like, wow, you know, and I was like, you know, so incredible, man. The brother who plays Joe Jackson. To me, he nailed it. I would love to see more of that. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if there was another version of this movie where he's really allowed to go crazy. But fantastic. The scene with him and Dion Cole, who plays Don King, that was golden to me, man. I was like, this is the real. I was like, man, I know players, I know cats like that from back in the day. The style they was dressed, the way there was a part when he said, "You gonna get Michael?" He's like, "Yeah, we're gonna get." And Dion said, he said, the thing he did with his teeth, that's some old school play. I was like, oh, they really digging in. I know that. I already know what he's doing right there. So to me, they just embody real cats that was hustlers like that. I just thought it was super authentic. The part where, and I'm not spoiling, but the beaded part in the movie, that had me laughing, but it was one of my favorite parts of the movie when he goes to the crypts and all that. First time I saw that, I was like, get the fuck out. Well, that's crypt, that's a seawall, cuz. I was like, stop it. But then Michael Jackson is just doing Michael Jackson shit. Whether that happened or not, I love that in the movie. It was funny, but it was also like, look at this brother work, man. He was doing the Marlon. I was like, man. So as you can see, like I love this movie. I can't wait to see it again. Would I like to see a more in-depth biopic? Absolutely. And I still think there may be an opportunity to do that. But for the movie that they gave me, I love it. You know, I walked out of that energized. The way that it ends, the first time I see it, I didn't really like the performance at the end. But the second time I saw it, I don't know, just I let myself go into it. And I was just like, man, look at this dude, man. This dude is going to town. He was actually doing the moves a little harder than Michael. And I was like, okay. So for for an amazing performance by Jafar. Nia Long, I thought was great. Just the care of the details that they did do, I loved it. And in the face of covering a subject that we all know a lot about, so you're not going to get a lot of new things in there, but it's just to bask in the presence of Michael Jackson, and I think it does that spectacularly well. I would equate this movie. Last thing I'll say, I equate this movie to like a Marvel movie or like a Bruce Lee movie, for instance. Game of was it Enter the Dragon. I have this up here. One of my favorite movies. Cinematically, there's a lot of issues going on in the movie, but when Bruce Lee is on the screen, we don't go. I don't watch Bruce Lee movies to see Martin Scorsese. I go to see the master at work, and when he gets to his fight scenes, I love it. To me, and this movie to me was just a number of fight scenes over. It was just Michael Jackson doing. It was just constant, and so to me, like, yeah, I'm not mad at that. Like, if it was a Marvel movie and it was just nothing but wall to wall action, some people would be like, "Oh my god." But I'm a fan of that shit. So if they're in the costumes and they're actually, I'm gonna sit there and love it. Yeah, it's not the greatest movie ever made, but it is a damn entertaining time at the theater, and everyone was, and that's the thing, everyone was clapping and having a good time. Hey, I'm all that. I'm all for that. And those are the kind of movies when I was a kid that we loved. I don't know if you ever seen the movie Breaking or Beach Street. Those movies are trash. But when I was a kid, those are the greatest movies ever made. Like, we went to go see Breaking a gang of times. Like, I remember one time, and I had seen it 2 or 3 times already, but spent the night at my homeboy's house. His mom took us to go see Breaking for the 4th time. And we loved it so much, we were snuck back in to watch it again, but it was his mom who got caught. So we had to leave. But we thought that movie was the shit. You watch that movie now, you'd be like, the breaking and ozone, the all the dancing is popping, but the shit around it, it's garbage. And to me, this movie sort of has that same kind of, I'm not saying this is garbage, but I'm just saying it's that type of movie. Purple Rain is the same type of way. You strip out the performances, no one's handing out Oscars, but it's the essence of Prince and the performance of Prince that make Purple Rain the fantastic cult classic it is. Same way with Under the Cherry Moon. I love Under the Cherry Moon. I prefer that better than Purple Rain. But I'm not going to argue somebody who's a cinephile. Yeah, this is one of the greatest movies ever made. Stop it. But it's one of mine. So this movie to me sits in that same sort of thing. I don't know if people have forgotten that aspect. I mean, that's what movies are. That's what Marvel movies have been, right? Event spectacles that we love to go out and see. But you watching it 10, 20 years later, you might be like, that one was all right. It was great for the such and such scene, but that whole movie, stop it. So to me, this is no different, but it's about one of the greatest entertainers of all time. So they're going to run the numbers up at the box office. I just ran long. The floor is yours, sir.
So playing the role of Michael Q. Jones this week will be Ant Pooh.
It took me a second to catch that.
I was let down. I really was. Now I will give them some grace in the sense that they were handcuffed with a number of things that occurred. They couldn't go into some of the child abuse allegations. Diana Ross was cast, but they had to take her out of the film. 2 of his sisters, Rebe and Janet, along with Randy, refused to sign off on their likeness in the film. So I understand that. I don't know what happened with Stevie Wonder, but I'm going to assume maybe something similar. So I understand.
They shot scenes with Stevie?
No, I'm just saying Stevie Wonder was a part of his life, so I don't know what went on there. So I will go ahead and give them grace that these key people in his life were not allowed to be depicted in this film. But for me, it didn't live up to my expectations and what I felt could have been a great film about the life of Michael Jackson, even from that time period of just starting the Jackson 5 to the end of the Victory Tour. Because for all intents and purposes, that last scene that really didn't get too bad. It just was here's a performance from that tour. So really from there to the Victory Tour. I'll get the positives out of the way. I don't know what more I can say about Jafar Jackson. He nailed MJ. Whatever people were saying about nepotism, can he really be up for the job? Oh, they're just giving it all this other stuff. He assuaged all of my doubts. He was great as Michael Jackson. He had the mannerism. He had the movement. He had the voice. He had some of the tics. More importantly, he had, it felt like he knew the weight of what he was doing, and he lived up to it because of, this is my legacy, and this is the legacy of our family that I have to get out there. And he did it all. I mean, we were worried about him acting, and then it was like, I got this move shit too. It's like, oh, you think, it's like, oh, you guys are happy that I'm making you think I sound and look like Michael. I ain't even got to dancing yet. You were on point. There were times where I was like, this is so unfair, because he's had decades of watching Michael and he's perfected Michael's move. So it's like, that's just so unfair to MJ. It's kind of like seeing MJ and Prince in the 80s doing James Brown move. You're like, oh shit, they topping James Brown. I'm like, yeah, they've been watching it for 20 years. So they probably know what he does, and let me go ahead and top it. But it was amazing to see that. He felt believable when performing. And even more so, the moments where the script and the story allowed to, he came off as a believable actor, not just portraying MJ, but just overall. You really got the loneliness that he had. He really portrayed that, like when he came home, sports, I don't know how far we're gonna go to sports, but when he came home from being out with Bill Gray, I think that's his name, Bill Bray, the bodyguard.
I can't remember his last name, but Bill.
Yeah. And he had Twister. Hey guys, let's play Twister. Now I know it. Tito and Jackie was like, man, I'm about to go twist some ass. That's what we about to do. Waiting for that. Get up out of here.
Somebody said something like that. He gonna be playing some Twister tonight with should be doing.
Exactly. But when it was subtle. It was so subtle, the look of disappointment that here he is still living with his family. He wants to keep doing those same things that he's, at this point, 18, 20 years. And they're like, yeah, dude, we moved on. We moved on.
That was sad.
We got grown up stuff. And then the reveal, spoilers, when he's talking in his bedroom. And because I'm like, wait a minute, I saw the miniseries. When did the rat come in? Because you guys were flipping it. In the miniseries, the rat was like 5-6-year-old Mike. Now they got 16, 18-year-old Mike. But anyway, when he was in the bedroom talking to that rat, he did such a great job. I'm like, Mike. I'm like, damn, Mike was crazy after talking to himself. And then the reveal of the rat.
And this was the little boy Mike, right?
No, this is around 16, 17.
Or was he older?
Yeah, it was older.
Oh.
And you get the reveal of him talking to the rat. And then when he's talking outside and he's just going and just doing all that, and then they pan to the left and he's talking to the llama, which I was like, I know he's talking to that llama. But it's just, at the same time, he made you feel bad for this man, because it's like, he even said, it's like, they don't see me as a real person. And when he delivered that line, you believed it, because he did such a great job of convincing you, yeah, I might not look like Mike, but I'm going to make you suspend disbelief. This is Mike's story, and I'm Mike telling you this story. So salute to him. Coleman Domingo, it's hard to... for me, I loved his... I liked his performance. But again, the script failed him. only because, and I know this might be unfair to do, only because I saw the Jackson American Family, and and you have 4 episodes, 5 episodes to really show the depth of Joe Jackson. You got him. Who let the child in the pool? Michael, Marley? You got that anger.
That's classic.
But then at the same time, you saw him loving on those kids, giving that tough love to those kids. So it just felt jarring to me that they leaned very heavy into him being exploitive and abusive to those kids. Because I'm like, but they were involved with that miniseries, so I don't understand why the shift. So that's on me, because I am judging it based on what I saw.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's a thing to judge the movie they gave you versus what you
But
kind of wanted.
at the same time, I'm like, I feel like they were showing the mother who's still alive in this angelic angel, great
That's right.
mother, which she absolutely was. And they wanted this dichotomy of who she was to Michael, which I believe we all understand that he was much more closer to Catherine than she was to Joe. But I think they leaned into it too much that I felt was detrimental to the character that I felt could have been on the film. And Nia Long, she did a great job. Bill, man, I sat back there like, damn, I wish I had me a stand-in daddy like Bill, because he,
Bill was a writer.
He absolutely, at the end of spoilers, at the end of the victory tour scene, when he was like, Joe, it's over. First,
it's over.
Part of me was like, nigga, who are you talking to? But he'd have been with that man for 10 years. And then when he walked off, he had that smile, like twofold. Like, one, Mike stood up to his pops. Two, yeah, fuck Joe. Like, it kind of felt like that. Like, yeah, I'm glad I got to see him do it, and I got to tell him it's over. So, hey, whatever. But, however, the problem that I have with the film is the pacing. And I understand, again, you got 2 hours, 2.5 hours. You can't put everything in there. But it felt like they were, the story of this is Michael, this human, Michael who loved his family, Michael, this musical genius, but they really didn't get in depth with that. Like, for example, it's the Jackson 5. If you saw the movie, you know there's only 5 brothers. And they go from 64 to 72, then they jump from 72 to 78. And in that time period, I'm like, wait a minute. And I'm not saying, I'm not like, you missed this, like nitpicking and they got this stuff wrong. But it's like there was so much that happened in that time jump. Michael went from being a child star to a teenage heartthrob. His brothers went from young adolescents to grown adults. Some of them got married. Most of them was definitely doing some stuff on the road, if you know what I mean. And it would have been,
But the movie is called Michael. So
but here's the thing. They want you to, by the end of the movie, they want you to say he's doing this for his family, for his brothers, to show us that bond that they were getting. Why it mattered to him. Like, for example, when they say, oh, we're going to go do the Triumph tour. Well, we ain't got Jermaine. And I'm sorry, I need to go back to the miniseries, but I remember the first in the miniseries, it was allegedly the first show without Jermaine. And they did a great job. You had Joe cracking their asses like, Jermaine gone, we still the Jacksons. It's the Jacksons. He decided to stay, you guys could do it. He goes to Randy. He's like, it's your chance. You gonna do this? You ready? And then you get some development. Randy saying, yeah, I'm ready. And then the thing, and this is where I'm going with it, Michael, Jermaine is always there. It's not the same without Jermaine. And when I bring that up is because it's like, what did that mean? His brother leaving, what did that mean? So just overall, I just felt, and then the fact that he left Motown and he goes to Epic, and now him and his brothers are taking more involvement with their music. Like you're telling us how he's this musical genius, and he sees himself. Show us that evolution, him learning again, him being around these people. Maybe it's not that important because it's Michael, but it builds into us showing and learning his work ethic. That's another thing, his work ethic. I don't believe we got enough of that. You know, the other thing, I feel like I don't.
You remember that whole sequence where they kept showing him going back and forth to the studio, he's writing.
That
I mean, that was the work ethic, right?
I don't know.
How much more should they
I
have shown?
feel like it was very surface level. I get that.
Well, no, I agree on that.
I get that, you know, Diana Ross, they chose to, because she backed out of it. But I'm like, you still could have talked about the Wiz. You have these relationships with him and Berry Gordy. I'm like, from what we heard, that was a very pivotal relationship. I would have loved to see more of that. Him nurtured and him getting the juice, sitting at the learning tree of Berry Gordy and applying it, later having applied to his career. Him being around Quincy Jones, I felt like we got maybe 2 scenes, and I would have loved to have got into more of that. No Stevie Wonder. I would have loved to, because Stevie Wonder started off as a child star. Was there some type of interaction where he's learning how to transition from that child star into the adulthood? But just more importantly, then as you get to Thriller, you know, him, why does he want to break away from his brothers? Why does he want to? Well, I guess we can understand why he wants to get from under the thumb of Joseph. But from what I've seen about that whole Victory tour, you know, the fact that it's been reported that Catherine was the one who talked him into doing the tour that he didn't want to do. I would have loved to have seen that, or seen that dramatized. And, you know, again, it furthers that bond that he had to the point that when he died, who did he give his kids to? His mama. And I think that really would have helped. And I just felt like they told us, but they didn't really show us enough. And I get it, it's 2.5 hours, but, you know, I just felt like there was some stuff missing to really get me to understand who this man was that became the king of pop, the biggest star in the world at one point.
Do you personally don't understand how he became the king of pop? Or
you said, do I need?
It sounds like you know all this stuff.
No, I'm like the whispers, the rumors, the books that have been out there. I'm like, hey, confirm or deny it. Like, I mean, like for example, we've heard that talk. We've heard we've heard about MJ from other people saying that, oh, MJ would he'd always be in the mode because he feels like God is going to give him a song, is trying to inspire him, and if he's not there to collect it, he's gonna give it to Prince. They put that in the movie, so now I'm like, oh, that story was true. Okay. I hope it was true, but I'm going to assume that that was true.
Yeah, but it didn't happen the way it happened in the movie.
You're right. But
that's what I'm saying. So, but that would go to the point of, you know, they're throwing things in there, kind of what you're saying. But again, they throw them in there not to say this is exactly how it happened, but it's almost a nod to like, well, we know that story is out there. Here's a little, you know, they do a lot of that type of stuff. They just throwing little things out there, but you're right. They don't go into detail at all.
Yeah. But, and then lastly, what I'll say is the one thing that I didn't like, only because I saw the film and I've had discussions with people, was when he got burned and they got to the hospital. I don't know how you took it, but how I took it, when Joe asked, well, can he perform? The first thing I was like, motherfucker. But then as he talked, right. he was like, guys, your son almost died. And he was like, if he can't perform, he might as well. I think he said something like, if he can't perform, he might as well be dead, or what is he going to have to live for? And I was like,
he's alive on the stage.
Yeah. And then I was like, oh, okay, I get what he said. Now, my daughter, she's 8. She was mad that I talked to a couple other people. He's so mean. I said, oh, I can't believe he all he cared about was him if he could make money off it. I'm like, I mean, maybe that's how you took it. That's not how I took it. Because
that's how I took
really?
It. Wow. A lot of people took it that way. I think that was the intention of him saying that, is they're supposed to take it that way.
Well, yeah.
But I mean,
after the follow-up, I think I looked at it like he was saying, if you're telling him that he'll never be able to perform again, he's never going to get healed the right way. It's like you're taking away his hope, his dream. Like he's alive on that stage. And that's when he was saying it. I was like, oh, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. Especially because I'm sorry, I have to go back to in the miniseries, they did this similar scenario. They had a reporter there, and he was like, "Hey, Joe, your son, how do you feel? Y'all been at odds, yada 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 yada." And Joe went to him and was like, "That's my son, and just walked away. So I was just like, why they go from that to this here where it has that ambiguity that he's trying to use him, which goes back to them trying to have that villain of the film, which I really don't believe they needed to. There could be, just like there was nuance in MJ and who he was, especially when they were looking at, the nose when he was doing that. There could have been nuance with the relationship with Joe and whatnot. So for me, it's a 3 because how great Jafar was, how great Coleman Domingo, Nia Long was, and of course the performances of recreating those iconic dance sequences and videos. But I just felt like there was a better story out there to really get us into knowing and loving and being shocked or even seeing, again, the relationships with his family, the relationships with these icons in the music industry, and just him pushing to be who he was. And I know it ain't about Michael, but the fact that there wasn't a reference to Madonna, because it's like Prince, Michael, Madonna, those were the 80s. And like, you got your Prince referencing. I'm like Madonna, because in the sense of, they ruled the 80s. And, it's kind of like him acknowledging.
I don't know, but was Madonna ruling at that time, though? I don't think she was
84, yeah. Well,
no, she just wasn't ruling. Like a Virgin was like.
Well, by the Victory Tour, it was the year of
Victory Tour
85. No, it was 85.
Yeah, but she wasn't ruling.
Like a Virgin came out in 85.
But but she wasn't ruling the game. I'm just saying she was a hot new artist.
Okay.
But one album, you ain't ruling nothing. I don't know where that happened.
Okay.
But I see. I mean, I see. So you gave it how many stars?
3 out of 5. 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5. I didn't get my rating, and this. If nothing else gets Marlins, this is the movie. Right? Out of 5, I actually give this 4 Marlins, man. 4 Marlins. The music is a character, and the music is just the music is phenomenal in this. The way they do we haven't talked about the way they do the music in this movie was phenomenal, in my opinion. The way they intercut the music when you come into a certain part and you kind of hear the first little chords. I was like, oh, especially when they got to the off the wall part and they started playing I Can't Help. I can't help.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit. That was like my favorite part of the movie. I was like, oh shit. I was like, this is my time right here, nigga. And the Afro 70s Michael looking like the Mac, looking like Goldie from the Mac. Man, he was cold, man. But yeah, I just thought the music was so phenomenal. That's what carries this movie as well as the music carries the movie, man. When that music bump comes in, kicking, and I seen it in IMAX and Dolby Cinema, the music was banging, man. And it's almost like they treat certain scenes like jump scares and the music come on, or they shut the music off to great effect when Joseph comes in, he closes the refrigerator. It almost reminded me of Juice when Tupac was, and I was like, yo, this movie, they know what they're doing. Whoever edited this movie, they know what they was doing. And I actually agree with what you said in terms of it being deeper, but I think that for the movie that they made and released, they nailed it.
What?
It may not be the movie that most people wanted, but the movie they released, in my opinion, they nailed it.
One thing that they did that was interesting, that I talked to a couple people that was like, man, they bullshit. Ain't nowhere in the world Mike was still living at home. He 22, 23. And I'm like, did you watch the movie? I'm like, first of all, I don't know. But did you watch the movie? How did Joe keep Michael under his thumb? He said, your family. Nobody's going to treat you like your family, and nobody's going to be out there. You're going to get a bunch of yes men. He was essentially...
That was some real shit.
And the thing was, this is where I feel like they could have went into it more, is that he was talking about he had nobody. He had no real friends. He was isolated. So me seeing that, I'm like, yeah, I could believe he still was living at home at 2023. Because what is he gonna do? He gonna go get a mansion and live by himself? He ain't married. He ain't got no kids. So yeah,
but Mike did have an apartment that he bought. He just never really lived there. I think it was in LA. But he did have his own other place.
And for me, and that's what they did a really good job, because I believed it. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I'm like, you gonna go. I mean, they're pretty much telling you he ain't out there running the streets, smashing everything down. So yeah, does he need to live out there? And more importantly, he's feeling alone and isolated because he is getting that superstardom, which they were telling you in the movie, which his father was instilling in him. Like, no, you don't leave, because you're gonna be isolated by a bunch of list men, and you ain't got nobody but your family. So that I like what they did, and I wish they had did more of that, so we could really get an understanding, because it really brings into, like, when he all of a sudden he's getting these animals, when he gets Bubbles, which was crazy.
That was actually
that's probably when the other brothers moved out. Like, oh, I ain't staying on the goddamn house with no fucking monkey. Had a diaper on too.
That was hilarious, man, and some great ass CGI work, man.
And so I understand why he built. For me, I get, seeing those few scenes where Joe is talking about that and Jafar is speaking on the loneliness and isolation. I'm like, I get why he built Neverland, so he could have those kids around him and have that purpose of having a home.
Sound like you're arguing your own review right now.
I said there was stuff there, but I wish they had went in that would have took it from a 3 to a 5.
Sure, I got you. Yeah. No, like I said, I agree. There's an opportunity for another movie, or even a TV series. I think would probably be better suited, at least the way you described it. And there's still an opportunity to do something like that. I just think that this was made to be a blockbuster movie, and typically blockbuster movies are not super thought pieces. It's super. This was not shot to be Malcolm X, right?
Okay, you ain't even gotta go there. Man, come on, man. You have to say all that.
No, I'm just saying Malcolm X to me is the high water mark of biopic movies. Okay. You know what I'm saying? But that's a serious cinematic movie. This is an action movie. I can't expect this to be. That's not what they made. Now, well, let's say that's not what they released. It sounds like they did shoot that movie, but for whatever reasons, it didn't come out that way. And I guess they would probably say, well, we were right? Like, the box office speaks for itself. They knew the audience that they were going after. They wanted to sell tickets, and they accomplished that. I think they accomplished that heavily.
Seeing the finished product, because maybe this isn't the script that Randy, Rebe, and Janet saw, but seeing the finished product, I'm looking at it like, why I didn't want to be a part of this? Because I don't see. Only thing I could see why based on what was released, the only thing I could see them being upset about is how their father was portrayed. As that'd be the only thing.
Could be.
But if what was released,
maybe they didn't like the way Mike was being portrayed.
Really,
that part too.
Because
again,
the movie I didn't live with him, so
it's entirely different than what we saw.
Yeah,
like maybe she didn't want to see him strip search. They filmed all that. The movie was going to start with that, right? I could understand why they might not want to be down with that. But the end of the day, though, and I hope they don't take it the wrong way, the audience could care less if they were in it, right? Because again, the numbers speak for themselves. What they say, men lie, numbers don't. And at the end of the day, the movie that the producers made and that Lionsgate movie company, they was selling tickets. And they did that. You know what I'm saying? So, but again, that doesn't mean that they should not have a deeper look. I would say go read the books personally. I would say go watch American Dream. Like, there's no reason why you can't watch that.
Yeah.
That offers everything that I think we all wanted to. It was just made a long time ago, but they should re-release that.
I'm thinking now that you mentioned that, I feel I got to bring this up. This is amazing. Jermaine had 2 sons. One played him, and the other one played his brother. That's crazy when you think about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in the American Dream, his son played him. So, yeah.
Oh. Gotcha. I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's why I always thought, it's just me. I get it. It's my own issues, but I always thought it's kind of creepy. betting down your mother. You're playing your father, betting down your mother.
So what?
Yeah, and there's a scene in there where he's with his mom. He's playing Jermaine with his mom.
Right.
I forgot the Gordy's daughter, and he's like Hazel. Yeah, Hazel Gordy, and they get to lay it on the bed like they're about to get it on. And I'm like, that's really kind of creepy. But hey, people can act, I guess.
All right. Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. So yeah, Michael movie. I definitely say definitely go watch it, see it for yourself. Definitely. I can't wait for it to come out on streaming or 4K because I'm buying that day one.
It's definitely
gotta see it.
If you grew up in that time period, it's definitely a film to take your kids to so they can somewhat get an experience of what that's about. Because yes, we got YouTube, yes, we got television, but I think it's somewhat different and the closest you would get to being in concert of seeing all of that. I love the fact that they were showing the audience reacted. They had a couple of people fainting and being carried out. And my daughter goes, did that really happen? I'll show you a video when we get home. Apparently it did lots of times.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that because that is the closest you're going to get to being at a concert. And it's all these people that are excited to be there. That's what I said. This was a cultural moment. We'll look back at this and be like, remember the reviews that movie got? And we'll be like, that movie is a classic, but it was hated. There were people that hated, the critics hated. We'll remember that. But we'll remember like, that was for some people, this will be the Motown 25. Mm-hmm. For some kids, some people, this will be the moment where they become in love with Michael Jackson, right? And they go and take a deeper dive, and they'll probably go watch the other stuff or read some of the books to get a deeper picture. But I think this movie was, even just as a movie, there are movies that are center point. Black Panther was another one.
Straight out of Compton.
And these are, and we're talking about black movies. In terms of this being a black movie, another classic. Because when I saw it, we showed up. When I was at the theater, I'm here in Seattle where we don't even make up that much of the popular, but we showed up and we was talking throughout, having a great time.
Don't remind me.
This took me back to the 90s as well, when we used to go to the black movies. And that's another reason why I loved it. I was like, I haven't had this experience in quite a while. So it was that part of it too. I think you have to go see it for yourself.
A couple of when ABC came on, because my daughter loves it. She's like, Daddy, that's that song. She was mad. Another thing, she was mad because she has a dance class and she's preparing for a recital, and they're going to use "You Are Not Alone." So she was and "Man in the Mirror" for two of her performances, and she's like, they didn't play my songs for the recital. I'm like, they ain't got there yet. They ain't got there yet. But she was waiting for that. And I forget, I don't remember what other song it was, but she was just sitting there just snapping along to it and singing. And I tried to get the camera on her. She's like, I'm like, man, stop it.
Now see that right there, that's what the movie's about, man. In my opinion. We as old folks, we can sit here and say, hey,
it was Human Nature. Human Nature. That was the song.
That was dope. But I'm saying, wait, the kids they're gonna see it. They're not gonna think about the critics didn't like it. They won't even know that you didn't like it. They'll remember, I went and saw this with my dad. I had a fucking great time. See, they don't talk like that. I had a great time, and I love that music, and I remember that moment. You know what I'm saying? And it's gonna be one of them moments for them. They're gonna remember that. I remember when my mom took me to see Superman back when it came out. I love the movie, but I love what I think about, because I can't watch that movie now. It's unwatchable to me. But I always give it respect because I remember that's my mom. I remember the moment going to see that was so fun. That's why I give that movie love. It's a nostalgia thing, you know what I'm saying? And I could see this movie playing that way, and they're not going to care about all of this hoopla. Again, no one cares about it now because they ran the number, right? The audience could care less. And so removed, they certainly not going to care. They're going to remember, man, that was a great movie. That was fun. Let's watch Michael again. So that's, to me, it sort of transcends sort of our expectations. And that's why I had to see it again. because I was like with you the first time I saw it. I was like, but then I just said, let me just give myself over to what this is, not what I want it to be. Because I can go watch American Dream.
This might be blasphemous, but I want to say 14 when Malcolm X came out. Yeah. How old were you? How,
I don't know what year.
93. 93.
93?
Yeah. So I say that to say, do you think that for a generation that's, 10 years and moving forward, that when, just like from.
I was 24.
Oh, well, okay, maybe not. But for me, when I think of Malcolm X, I think of Denzel Washington because he nailed that shit. Do you think for a generation at 12, maybe 13 and younger and generation after, when they think of Michael Jackson, it's going to be Jafar?
They're going to think of Jafar. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And how should we feel about that?
Yep. Well, you should feel great. No different than why you think about Denzel Washington, right?
Yes and no.
Why wouldn't you? At least you may not think of him as Malcolm, but you definitely can't separate the two. That's how you got into it. That was the thing that launched it off for you. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think there's anything wrong with that because he nailed it. He almost looks like Michael in this. It's easy to think that that's really him. It's enough of a close portrayal that you can damn near say that was Mike. Yeah. The essence was there. Yeah. And his family. You know what I'm saying? So it's the greatest form of appreciation. Yeah, man. I will say this too, though. And let me know if we got to get out of here. But I do think the movie is in itself also guilty of what the movie is about, and that is exploiting Michael.
Whoa.
But I think even the movie itself does that. But again, it's just one of those things where I want people to look at it, and I can still enjoy it, but it's still a part of the symptom of being what Michael was. Even in 2026, right? He died, I don't know how many years ago he has passed.
17.
Right? 17. And even 17 years later, top of mind, controversial, the top of the game, and ruling the movie world now. I don't think anybody saw that, but it just goes to show just how impactful. And Joe said something in this movie. Who would have thought a little poor boy from Gary, Indiana would have the biggest selling album of all time? This movie illustrates, man, we don't know what our kids can be. They can be some stuff, and there'll be some stuff even well past their being alive. And Michael Jackson is still at the top of the game 17 some odd years later. It's fantastic. The fact that we're still talking about Prince this heavy is fascinating to me. Both of these brothers are still dominating. And they're not even here. We're still arguing about it. So that just says that's an achievement into itself. And again, it just showed to me, for me, it's just great Black art. Man, it's powerful.
Speaking of
powerful as hell.
As a foundational Black American, I am going to love the fact that whenever there's a new artist, Black, white, Hispanic, whatever, male or female, whatever, for the next 100 years, maybe 200 years, a millennia, they're always going to be like, is this the next Michael Jackson? Right. It's not, actually, it's not the next, is this the next Beatles? Is this the next Elvis? It's always going to be, is this the next Michael Jackson? And I love that.
Nope. Yeah. Yeah, this movie please let's put to bed all of this. Chris Brown, Chris Brown can't even compare with little Michael in this, let alone with Thriller. Stop. The little boy was raw as hell. The singing voice was crazy. When they did the isolated, and he was saying, I was in the theater like, and you could hear people like, God damn.
Yeah, me personally, I understand people talk about his hits, but for me, his greatest vocal performance is Who's Loving You, because he was 8, 9, 10, around that age, giving that performance. And you could say that I'm wrong for doing that, but I'm like, that boy his balls didn't drop yet, and he hit that. He did that. Like, who was doing? Who could have did that at 12? Who?
Right. Exactly.
That was a grown man performance at 12.
Yeah, man.
Just ridiculous talent.
Dope, man. That's what I'm saying, man. Yeah, but salute to the Jacksons, salute to Joe, to Catherine, Michael, all of them, man. Phenomenal. They gave a lot to the culture, and so they get my grace just off of that alone. They didn't show whoop de whoop, and that's Black royalty family. So I'm gonna give them the same way y'all give y'all heroes the pass and all this. So you goddamn right. And I know they mad because he done ran up the numbers. They're at the top. It is what it is. You can't stop it. So just keep the stories coming.
Yeah.
Keep the news story. But at the end of the day, Jackson's gonna stay on the top, man. We're gonna cover him regardless. So it is.
I'm pretty sure in the next couple of weeks we're gonna learn that Thriller, Bad, and Off the Wall set another record because of streaming.
Right, and they probably gonna be another accusation. And again, if they truly, but so far they're not. But whatever, they can keep them coming. But we're gonna hold the Jacksons down regardless. That's just something they're gonna have to come to grips with. Whatever they say, the fans of the Jackson family gonna hold them down regardless. Same way we do Prince. You can say he did this and he put hands in. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but still holding.
You know what I'm gonna say? Yeah, I still voted for Trump, so I'm gonna still play that music.
Well, so you saying you gonna play?
No. Yeah, I know where you was going. That's different.
I ain't doing the R. Kelly, man. That's different. Anyway, it's messing. Any last things we want to get out of
Go see it for yourself. Don't remember. It's probably me and my expectations, but go see it for yourself. You're probably not. Don't go in there looking for a deep dive. Go there to have the nostalgia, to have that sense of wonderment. And if you have kids, absolutely take there with you. Shit, you might even get them to aspire to greatness. You never know.
Yeah. And I think there's enough in there for everyone to learn something from. I again, for me watching it as a father now older, I saw a lot of things. I was like, yeah, you know what, I can do better on some things. And yeah, we gotta make
that's what
these children.
I'm sorry, that's what I want to go to as well. In the sense that, who am I? I am a father. 3 kids. One's biologically mine. Who am I to tell you how to raise your children? But the one thing I will say, and I'm seeing this anyway, I can go there. Your kids should fear disappointing you to an extent. They should fear being ashamed of their actions within reason. But they shouldn't fear you, if you know the difference.
Right. Yeah.
And that's one thing I understand. I know I might lose Mike here. I feel like there is a toxic culture of fathers to son. I feel like we're really good at loving on our daughters. It's easier. They're feminine. They're women. They're girls. You still have that protector about them. Do the same with your boys. And that's one thing that I saw in that movie is he only knew one way to raise those boys, one way to act with those boys. And those boys need to know they are loved by their fathers just as much as they need to know they are loved by their mothers. They need to be hugged. They need to be told. They need to be have that affection from their fathers. And I just hope that at some point we break that, in my opinion, toxic cycle. It took my daughter to break that cycle with my son because I'm hugging and kissing and loving on her and looking at him like, why am I not doing that with him? because I feel some type of way that a man doesn't do that to another man, a father doesn't do that to his son. And I say all that to say that I saw that in that film as well. They were getting across of how, Michael telling people, tell him I want to do the solo album. Tell him I'm going to fire him for me, because he couldn't have that relationship because of, I don't think they ever had that type of relationship, honest communication and relationship and love, where Joe was willing to really listen to what his son wanted and understanding who his son was outside of the musicianship. Because maybe if he did, he probably would have been in all those. Maybe not, because you only have a certain amount of vision. You probably need other visions, but he might have been in those rooms with Michael a whole lot longer. Never know.
Yeah, that's if nothing else, I think. Again, it's not the movie they show, but a lot of this, and I think you get that from the American Dream, if I remember. The backstory of Joe is probably the most influential on the entire family, but is the least depicted in anything. What I mean by that is how Joe was raised determines how he raises his family, but we never see what he comes from and why he is the way that he is, because Joe's actions dictate the family's progress, right? For better or worse. It's because of Joe why they're in the positions that they are in, but we never see why was Joe the way he was. Now I can understand, I understand older Black people, and it was a different time, and Joe to me is my grandfather. So, on one hand, nothing he is doing is nothing that I ain't ever seen before or had experience. But I can understand how the outside world that didn't have that looks crazy. But there's a certain segment of Black society from that time where the Joe character, that's the backbone of the house for a long time. That type of way he's talking and the way it was quick. There's no argument. Go and get the belt. That was a different time. I was raised in that time. My mom was kind of like that, because that's where her dad was, but that's coming from the South, so there's a whole different. So that's the one thing I think the most influential part in my mind of the Jackson family is Joe's upbringing, but they never really show that. He's just, the dominant society can only see him as the angry Black man. It's easier to position it that way and just say that he abused him. Never get into their psyche and the nuances, they like to use their word, or why he was like that, and why would Catherine knew that about him, which is why she's not jumping up, because the households back in them days was a lot different than they are today. One could argue, as my mom said when we was watching the movie, they need to bring that back, because you see that's from a different time. But on one hand, I would say some of the foolishness that we see today, not to say that it wasn't there, but it was kept to the background and was never the representation of us, because of people like Joe and the type of respect,
discipline, and structure.
Discipline, and was provided to us. You knew if you got out of line, there would be swift repercussions, bad or good, but that's the way it was. Michael's sort of coming out of that new era of Black success, and the Jacksons are the poster child of that, right? Coming from the hood, becoming royalty in the success of a Black family. That was the original successful Black family. That's why the Jacksons, before Michael Jackson, it was the Jackson 5. That's Black royalty. Mike just is the offshoot of that. And some of the older generations remember that. Jackie and them was the draw. People were going crazy for Jackie, Jermaine. Those was the heartthrobs. You see glimpses of that in the movies, but obviously over time, I think the thing with this, last thing I said, the thing with this is that at this point, the Jacksons, and particularly Michael Jackson, have become folklore almost. And this movie is really like folklore, sort of telling the story. It's not telling you the exact things, but it's telling you the touchstone points that make a great story, but it's almost like folklore, And I guess 17 years after his death, you being one of the most recognizable people in the world, you're going to become a folk hero almost, he's almost presented as a some God type of character in this movie for some people, right? But that's what happens when you have he's essentially a real life superhero, but he's real life. In the same way that other cultures will spotlight these fantasy characters, and they act like this real life to them. Like they'll fight you over them. They want to make sure they're representative, the right race, the right look. They're all fictional characters. But this is actually a real person, but he is treated in that same way, but he's just real. And he's black. So you put him being that influential, being black, should tell you enough right off the gate of how he is going to be presented in this world, good or bad. There's always going to be somebody that's ready to tear that shit down. That's just, and you see it today. So go see it for yourself. We've talked enough about Micah. But yeah, there you go. We're about to get up out of here.
It's funny. I was scrolling on Facebook and I just saw this. And another thing, stop comparing anyone to Michael Jackson. Absolutely nobody. I mean, nobody compares to Mike. He said Mike is breaking records and he's gone. Gotta love Facebook.
All right, man. Let's get up out of here. We're gonna work it like a job. Thank you again, Ant Pooh. Salute to y'all watching. We will see you next time. Peace.